Frieza log. Stardate. Shipless. Why am I even doing this without even a ship? Let's hope the green girl can fix that. Hey guys, MasakoX here. Another month, another chapter in the ever-growing tale of a certain nefarious villain whom we all thought had a path that was geared towards a much badder state, but actually reached out towards a much more rounded or even good life. It is certainly one of my boldest stories going, and it's not even an April Fool what if, where you might have been a bit more understanding with my vision and mission statement here. Here though, we are playing by the rules of Dragon Ball's Road, as it were told by Toriyama, and trying to make sense to an otherwise improbable and even illogical statement. All of this has to do with Frieza, the baddest of the bad within the Dragon world, a person feared by the likes of the Supreme Kai for ages, and even capturing the interest of people like Beerus, who is notoriously hard to impress. That's a big deal, so for this guy to suddenly change is something to be handled carefully, and with respect for any fans out there. That is what we are doing here as we propose the idea of Frieza turning good. Yet again, this isn't your typical good guy redemption arc where this character is just suddenly going to switch sides at the drop of a zenny or anything like that. That would not be right for the character. In all my years of what ifery, I would never allow myself to do that, especially with Frieza. I mean, unless it was for a comedic spin on the normal convention. And even then, it would not be with such a major character such as this. It would be more with a minor character, or one that doesn't really show up very often. Like Raditz, for example. If you're new to the story though, King Cold had seen his son fail against the Saiyans, and seemingly, I mean at least in his eyes, gotten attached to them. I mean that wasn't the case, but you know, his mind was made up. This was something that did not sit well with the Frieza family mission statement of destroying all monkeys, and thusly, his second-born was cast out, having to fend for themselves for the first time and trying to survive without the presence of any good rosé wine for light years at a time, if ever again. In the last part of the story, Frieza's little brother was almost complete as the former emperor himself was busy trying to find some decent food on a faraway planet. Unfortunately for him, the ship that he had stolen was found by Cold Force mercs and impounded ready for it to be inspected, and him found out. But before all hope was lost for our now main character, a familiar girl, albeit a younger version, catches his attention, and thanks to some quick thinking and quick actions, he and her are now in cahoots with one another, each of them actually trying to profit out of the other. Incidentally, I think you all could guess that the girl was Chilai. Yeah, that was really fun to read in the comments, people going, "Oh my god, that was Chilai!" Yeah, I decided to bring her in early since we don't really know much about her past, but what we do know is that she was a street urchin and a thief. This seems like a plausible place for her to be scrounging for stuff. You know, she'd have been drifting around, and since Frieza is basically doing the same thing here, they are actually now kindred spirits. Who would have seen that coming, eh? But what about the Dragon Team, Masako? Are they in the story? Well, yeah, but Trunks' warning about the androids fell on much less receptive ears, as you may remember. They are still training for it and all, but Goku's new spirit control powers and healing abilities has made him even less likely to take the heart medicine than in the original, since, he thinks that he can cure any ills on his own. Is that attitude actually going to sit well with a virus that can't emote or compromise like us? I think Goku's about to get a rude awakening. Also, Vegeta is now on Yardrat. Having been transported to Yardrat by Goku's Space Taxi Instant Transmission Service, finds himself surrounded by pink and blue beings who give off a very mellow and happy vibe. Now remember, this Vegeta currently isn't as receptive as his super counterpart, and this kind of thing really is not his style at the moment. Pibara has been informed by Goku about Vegeta and anticipates that this Saiyan will not be as hearty nor as nice as the one that he had trained up recently. That being said, Goku did big up Vegeta for being dedicated and focused, but not how he got that focused and dedicated, and that all of this is just to beat Kakarot and not for anything noble like saving the world or anything like that. No. The pair get down to business, the prince somewhat glad to be away from Kakarot for a while, and to have some alone time, meditating just for a little bit, getting stronger because of that. Little does he know that this training is a lot more cerebral than he bargained for. While that's going on, Frieza and Chilai have waited until the cover of darkness to try and recover the former ship. Before they go ahead with the mission though, Frieza actually realizes something. Well, wait a minute. Why can't I just fly over the fence? I can do that. It's not covered or anything. In fact, why do I even need you, girl? Chilai looks to him with a blank stare. I can do this. She takes in a deep breath and starts to shout out for help before Frieza frantically silences her. Okay, I get it. Just please don't shout again, it hurts what's left of my ears. Chilai then decides to prove her point by grabbing a rock by their feet, hurling it above them towards the ship, and it activates an electrical field, vaporizing the rock faster than blinking. What about getting out? Oh, that's easy. It's only a one-way protective measure. I think. Frieza is bemused by how backward the security is. Who would greenlight something like this? Something so arrogant and assured that they think nobody can get in. Chilai points out to a sign nearby saying, Frieza Force Impound number 419, with the Frieza hastily scribbled out and replaced with Cold Force. Frieza chooses not to respond to that. Later that night, Chilai approaches the guards pretending to be a lost little girl, to which the guards try and calm down and find their parents. Oh, it'll be easy for them. And whilst that's going on, Frieza knocks them out, and they're able to slip in unnoticed. Chilai is actually surprised by this, that he didn't just waste them. She actually asks him about this. This makes him pause for a second though. Yeah, why didn't he just end these fools? I guess I didn't want to scare you and all. I'm sure a child like yourself wouldn't want to see that. What he just said caught him for a loop. Since when did he care about what a kid thought? Has he changed since being cast out by his father without knowing it? The old Frieza would never be so considerate. Chilai then rolls her eyes at this statement. Been there, done that. Being where I've been, you see a lot of that. I wish I hadn't been, but I can't undo the past, so what you gonna do? Come on, let's just get out of here. She walks forward to the ship, leaving Frieza still processing that show of tact. Weird. Hey, you gonna look this thing or what, old man? The empathic feelings are now swapped with annoyance by this remark. Keep your shrill voice down, girl, I'm coming. Frieza stomps towards the ship, opens it, and the pair slip out and off into space. Over the next few months, Frieza and Chilai begin to get to know one another, although Frieza chooses to admit the fact that he was an emperor and he was Frieza. He just decides to say, oh, I have a name, I'm just a robot. Initially, Frieza just wanted to find a convenient planet to get rid of this girl, but over the course of their time together, the kid actually proved to be quite useful in finding stuff, as well as taking all the attention away from himself. And on top of that, it reminded him of home, to have a minion of sorts. Now, granted, she wasn't as subservient as the lackeys past, but having a cohort along for the ride was very nice to have after months of loneliness. With the pair of them drifting from planet to planet, they were able to score more and more parts and more credits for their ship, as well as Frieza's current frame. He was starting to feel a little uncomfortable in his own skin, and he felt the time was right to revisit an old friend. Frieza sets a course for the planet that he started his redemption arc on, the Garbage World, where he met Kit. Sure enough, Kit was still there, sifting through all of the waste from the Empire that he had managed to work for so long. The ship lands, and Kit walks out to see who was trying to bother him this time, only to see a familiar face.
Well, I'll be. I didn't expect to see you dropping in again, droidy boy.
Droidy boy. I felt for some reason so nice to hear that again. Somehow, for some reason. It was familiar. But he didn't want this guy to know that he got comfortable with him calling him that. I have a favor to ask of you. Me and my Passepartout here has scored some very interesting parts and components of tech, and I need you to upgrade me again. Kit looks up and eyes Frieza with careful thought.
What's in it for me?
Credits, what do you expect? Unlike last time, I've come prepared.
Well, that's a shame. Could have actually done with a hand around here. Alright, let's get you patched up.
I'll give you the good stuff this time. Wait, what good stuff? What? Were you holding out on me?
Sure did, droidy boy. Honestly, you didn't expect me to hand out my best gear without credits now, did you?
Frieza's fist starts to spark in anger, but he then starts to see where the guy was coming from. When he actually thinks about it, he would have done the same thing if the roles were reversed. Chilai, meanwhile, is grateful for a comfy bed to sleep on for a little bit, as Kit is working on Frieza.
You came at the right time, pal. I've been given my marching orders from on high.
He points up figuratively. What? You've been laid off? How? Why would anyone care about this heap of a world?
It may be a heap, droided boy, but it's still my home. Or at least it was.
He motions to some crates in the corner.
I was just unpacking my tools. That is until you guys showed up. Say, where did you pick up the girl?
Frieza explains the barroom brawl encounter where they first met, as well as the lucky escape from the impound.
Well, I gotta tell you, pal, you gotta keep her with that one. If a kid like that can do the things that you said she can, she's useful.
Frieza looks to Chilai, fast asleep on the bed. Yes, very useful. He lets out a sly smile, hoping the mechanic didn't see it. He did. Hours pass with not much more words spoken. Kit continues his handiwork until he gives Frieza a slap on the back and tells him to get up and take himself for a spin. Frieza walks around for a little bit and gazes at himself in a piece of glass resembling what's left of the mirror. He looks much less muddled than before, sleeker, less lopsided, more symmetrical, and he's especially glad to be getting rid of that lump on his head. Very good, Kit. Those higher-ups are fools to be getting rid of you.
Thanks for reminding me, droidy boy. Your repairs finally got me to forget about that. I got about 14 hours until my replacement gets here. And I ain't got a ride.
No ride? Surely you have a craft to get parts and whatnot here. Why don't you have one?
Look around you. What parts do I need? Also, I ain't exactly a kind of people person.
Frieza then reminds himself where he is. Yeah, that's true. Chilai has been stirring, semi-listening to the conversation, and maybe suggests that Kit could tag along for a little bit, since he's got nowhere else to go. We can always take you back to your homeworld, mister, and your family.
This is my homeworld, girl. I've lived here 40 years. Any family I had before are now long gone.
Come with us anyway, Chilai replies with more pep now. She's started to wake up. Who gave you authority to say who can board my ship, girl? Think about it, Tin Can. Kit's a whiz with machines. You got yourself a personal handyman. This makes Frieza pause for a second. The girl is right. It would save him a lot of time. He wouldn't have to keep coming back here again in time for an upgrade. He's got it right there. Very well. So long as you pull your weight, you may accompany us. Kit is stunned by this.
Droidy boy, you got yourself a deal. Now, be a dear and help me get my stuff on board.
He pats Frieza on the shoulder and walks to the ship to try and give it a good once-over. Less of the droidy boy stuff, you. You are talking to your commanding officer now.
Sure, droidy boy, sir.
Oh, this is going to take some getting used to. With some time to spare before Kit's replacement arrives, he quickly spruces up the ship as best he can with his fleeting access to Cold Force tech. The replacement arrives and Kit hands over the keys to all the machinery he had used and the house that he lived in for, now, most of his life. However, just as Kit boards the ship to leave, the new Garbage World resident spots Frieza, or someone who looks like him, in the back of the ship. The replacement keeps her cool as the trio leave the world. Once they're gone, the new resident opens the domicile to see traces of components, as well as several parts from Frieza's old body, the one that was used to save his life back then. This just puts it beyond doubt though. Immediately things are starting to fall into place. They dust off a nearby radio and proceed to radio in their findings, which gets back to King Cold in the fullness of time. Back on Yardrat during said months, Vegeta has been struggling with the meditation, despite just about grasping the art of instant transmission. All of this sitting around and very little progress seemingly has begun to anger the prince. Pibara has constantly been telling him, the prince, that this is all part of the process of increasing control of one's spirit. It's a long and methodical path. You need to be less impatient. For the thousandth time, Vegeta, trust what I say. The prince scoffs at this and walks out of the training area, much to the shock of Pibara's assistants. Let him go. He will come around. Vegeta walks through the city, trying to remember why he came here. Yes, that's right. It was to beat Kakarot. Now that he recalled that, he remembered that he said he would finish meditating in 10 months instead of Kakarot's 11. Upon further thought, and remembering he hadn't really had much access to a calendar, he actually managed to smash that. Despite not liking the meditating, he'd done it in 8 months. 3 more than what he did in the Moro arc, but I mean, that's still not bad.
Good! I've beaten Kakarot after all.
Soon I can be rid of these moronic pit. Vegeta senses something which stops his blustering. What was that? The prince decides to concentrate. He recognizes an energy nearby, or what he thinks is an energy. It's a lot more distorted than what he was used to, but that basic signature, that basic energy pattern was the same. The trio of Frieza, Chilai and Kit had just landed on a nearby world in order to score a bigger ship. Kit's slow and steady upgrades to the ship, as well as the modifications to make it look different, had made it a much more aggressive beast to what Frieza had originally stolen. It looked the business, with fresh shrouding, and now it was in a place to try and maybe sell, to get rid of that trace, and maybe get a bigger vessel which looked even better. one where they could have their own quarters and, yes, you guessed it, a wine cabinet for the captain. Whilst that was being prepared to make it space-worthy, they were heading to a nearby eatery to celebrate their new start when suddenly Frieza is slammed to the ground by a surprise fist attack. Kit and Chilai are darting around trying to see who threw that punch and why. Vegeta, in yard rat attire, is looming over them, as well as Frieza, who is scrabbling to get up.
You've made a big mistake coming here, Frieza.
Vegeta quietly growls.
Frieza?
Kit and Chilai splutter in surprise. They look to the droid, and with this fact, it all starts to fall into place. He'd never told them his real name. And that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now. So what do you guys think? How is this going to play out now Frieza's crew know this guy's real identity? Will Vegeta even allow them to process this, or does he get rid of all three of them? Leave a comment below, and let's get this discussion going. And I shall see you in the next video. Catch you later!